Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidwaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhusya Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are doing the Ashtavakra Gita, the first chapter, and we just covered what the 4 questions that Janaka asked. What is Katham Jnanam Avapnoti? How do we gain the knowledge? And Katham Muktir Bhavishyati? How can we get freedom? Freedom from everything else. So freedom from all bondages. And Vairagyam cha Katham Praptam? How do we get dispassion? And Tat Bruhi Mama Prabhu. Lord, please teach me that knowledge where I can get all that. So that is the questioning of the student, and from the questions the teacher goes directly to the knowledge. It says, if you are really interested in the liberation, mukti, kadam muktiro apnoti. So how do I gain the liberation? Liberation from what? Liberation from bondage. What is the bondage? Bondage, we said, is something depending on something other than myself for my happiness. It's not like I am bound by something, by sin and all that. All other things are dropped out. Here is the fundamental definition of the bondage and the liberation also. What's a bondage? And this is what makes me to bound to the Prakriti, because of which I take birth again and again and again. Why I take? Because I depend on something other than myself for my happiness. And that is the essence of the bondage as well as liberation also. Because if I don't depend on it, then I am free. So any dependence on something other than myself is slavery. That's what we said. And so sarvam paravasham dukkham, sarvam atmavasham sukham. Any dependence on other than yourself is a bondage, and all dependence only on yourself is free. And that is sukham. And that is the absolute sukham, because you are absolutely there all the time. And you do not negate yourself. Even to negate yourself, you have to be there. So there is no way you can be absent to yourself. So, and you are full by yourself. So you don't depend upon anything else for, I need this for to become happy. So what is the problem? Why there is a bondage? Because I depend on things. What's wrong with depending on? So that's why I get attached to it. So attachment is, definition of attachment is, might depend on something other than myself. That is an attachment. So if I let other people to depend, separate from, I depend on them. So Krishna defines in fact as that, as where you can allow the other people to depend because they need a shelter. So the child depends on the mother, and mother has to take care of the child and also teach how to become independent of herself too. So that's what is the proper teaching. So the parents have to teach the student or the son or the daughter so that they can become independent of the parents, so that they can go out and live there on their own. So if you keep depending upon the parents for your something else, then there is something wrong. If the child is mature enough and still depend upon the parents, so that's not proper education. So proper education is, you do allow people to depend on you because they need to in order to grow up. So that's a part of responsibility. So but you depend on something else is you depend on something else unless you are a child that you have to depend on. But you have to learn how to become independent of them, then that is a proper education. So what is the knowledge? knowledge makes me to be independent of everything else. So what's wrong by depending on something else? What's wrong with attachment? Because this is the reason why Arjuna was also crying, because he depends upon the continuation of his Pitamaha and his teachers and all that loved ones, and therefore he doesn't want to face a situation where they are not there, because he depends on them for his happiness. So therefore he is crying. So attachment is depending on something other than yourself for your happiness, and that is a bondage. And you love is you let others people to depend on you. So you let them depend, so it says they love you, so you love them. So you are only giving up. In the love there is a giving, that means you don't take it, you only give. And that's what is the pure love, and that where as long as they need it, you need to provide. And if you are giving out where they don't need to, and then that is something wrong with you and something wrong with them. So you have to give where there is a need for it. And you have to give depending upon the need also. The best need is education, so that they can depend on themselves. That is the greatest gift that you can give to anybody else. So here we are talking about what's wrong with depending on that. There is a problem is I depend on my happiness on so many things. I need to have proper first thing in the coffee. Without coffee, people are miserable. That means I depend on something other than myself for my happiness. So that's what is the vairagyam is what? Not to depend on coffee. Not to depend on, it doesn't mean that you have to avoid coffee or you don't care whether the coffee comes or not. So that is what essentially a knowledge is. Knowledge means you don't depend on it, nor you hate it. If it comes, okay. So Jnani also let everything else come in as according to the prarabdha, but if it doesn't come, he doesn't go through suffering. That's what essentially. And I remember this, the Tapovan Prasad, where people ask him not to go in the direction in that pagadis, there are some thieves are also, not to travel that because these thieves come and steal. He said, I don't have anything to steal. What is that they can steal? And if at all they are very close, if they want they can take it, that also. I'm only wearing that because of other people only. So when he was there traveling, the thieves do come and find out that he doesn't have anything. In fact, he is not having a food also. They keep bring food for him, saying that he is a Mahatma. So people bring in, and Lord will take care of it. So then is the one who depends upon the Lord. Lord himself will take yogatshemam vahamyaham. So once you depend on the Lord, he will take care of it. Then it's not your question, it is his problem to take care of you. So that's essentially what Krishna says. And yogatshemam vaham, those who have completely depend on me, on totality. Lord is nothing but totality. Oh Lord, it's your body, you take care of it. You want it to starve, it will starve. You want it to feed, it's your sake only, you have to keep it alive. So that's what essentially implies in that. So if I depend on something other than myself, say what is wrong with it? You may get a pleasure out of it, but there is any sensuous enjoyment, any happiness to depend on senses, then I have what called doshatrayam. This is, I get three problems. One is to acquire it, I have a problem. To preserve it, I have a problem. And if I lose it, I have a problem. So that is in gaining it is a problem, and in preserving is a problem, and in losing also there is a problem. That's one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is no object will give complete happiness, because it may fulfill something, but it will show again something else. If I don't have a cup of coffee, I want coffee. Once I have coffee, I want idli or something else also. So mind doesn't stop with it. Yes, I have coffee. Now I am contented, full, and I don't need anything else. It doesn't. It is still, an inadequate mind is still left behind, even though an object is fulfilled, because whatever the object is only finite and not infinite. So finite object gives you only finite desire, and the mind wants something else more, because it still feels inadequacy, therefore it wants something else. So therefore asantruptikaram. And the third one is bandhakatvam. So I depend on it. The more I indulge on it, the more I depend on it. So for a simple example is the coffee. I may get a cup of coffee and that say I'm satisfied, but now I know that I need a cup of coffee in the first thing in the morning, otherwise I am miserable. Therefore my happiness depends upon getting that all the time. If I don't get, then it's a real problem. So this is called bandhakatvam. So any dependence on other than yourself becomes a bondage. So liberation is, that's what he says, muktim ichchasi chetat. In case you want to free from dependence on, and vishayan vishavat tyaja. This is the second sloka that we chanted. The vishayan vishavat tyaja. So you give up all objects of desire as vishavat. That means as though it's a poison. So you take it as though it's a medicine. As a medicine, if you take it, then you don't become bound. So the lady was very orthodox lady. She became sick, and doctor prescribed a prescribed amount of brandy for her so that she can get sleep. So she was taking brandy without knowing what it is as some medication, and as long as that she took it as a medicine, and she won't get it as addicted to brandy, whereas the fellow who takes brandy as for a pleasure, he gets addicted to it. So vishayan, vishavad for her, that is also visham, but prescribed for a remedy for something else, and as soon as the problem is solved, you don't take medicine anymore. So vishayan vishavat tyaja, you give up everything as though take what is required for medicinal reason. For keeping the body, you need food. So whatever that body requires for it maintaining itself, you take it, and you eat more than what the body needs. That's what is called greed. Greed is nothing but taking more than what you need, and it's only human being is greedish, whereas animals, they take what they can take, what they need, and leave it for the other animals so that they can depend on the other animals can eat. So that's what the animals are dictated by the Lord, whereas instinctively they follow. That means the Lord takes care of it. Whereas the human being has a freedom of choice, therefore he takes more than what he needs and deprives other people who need that. And that's what essentially hoarding and all that is. Vishayan vishavat tyaja. So here he advises, leave it as though it is like a poison. So if somebody brings a cup of beautiful hot milk that I want, and suddenly says that there may be little poison there. Not sure, it may not be there. I washed it, but maybe little cyanide may be there. So you think I will drink that hot even though I want it? Vishavat, once I know that it is a poison, I don't want to touch it. So therefore, I had to assume everything else is like that only. Vishayan vishavat tyaja. Give up all the dependence on the objects as though they are poison. Then what else I need? He says Kshama, Arjavam, Daya, Tosha, Satyam, Piyushavat Bhaja. As though it is nectar, you acquire these by practice. Kshama means it's essentially a kindness, and the forgiveness and all that has to be. So don't keep on accusing. Forgive them, but forgive them when is required for your own growth, but not required to others to take advantage of you. So you don't become a doormat for everybody to step on it. That's not what Shama means. That's not what Vedanta means. Vedanta is where you have to, when you need to, don't keep on thinking about that rerun in the mind. How did he do it? Why did he do it? All that. You just get rid of it, so that whether other people knows it or not, you have gone on, you have given up, and therefore your mind is free from agitations. That is what Shama will do, and forgiveness. And the Arjavam. Arjavam is straightforward. That means Manasa, Vacha, Karmana, what he thinks, what he says, and what he does are in straight line. There is no crookedness anywhere. And that's what essentially even Krishna talks about the Arjavam in the Gita, particularly in the 13th chapter, where you have to acquire that. And Arjuna is he's a straightforward person, therefore he is Arjuna. So here the Arjavatvam is embodiment, and therefore it is to him only Bhagavad Gita taught, not for Dharmaraja or other people. It's only Arjuna, because he has the quality of Arjavam. So straightforward, that means the mind and is in line. There is no crookedness. Only when there is a crookedness, the mind gets agitated. So that's what essentially a simple person is, a straightforward person. You respect a person if he is a straightforward. You may not agree with him, but you respect him because he is very straightforward. He doesn't say something and does something else. That's what crookedness means. Arjuna means he may not like it, he says it, and he does what he says, and nothing more and nothing less. That is what essentially a person, you respect him even though you may not agree with him also. So that's called the straightforward Arjavam. And Daya, kindness to people, that means ready to help whatever you can out of compassion. If you can't help it, at least do prayer for their benefit. And that's why says all our prayers are not give me this, give me this. Says let everybody be happy, and sarve jana sukhino bhavantu. Everyone be happy, everyone see the auspiciousness, and no one suffer. And that is the type of prayer, that's a Vedic prayer. And develop that when you sing that, and feel that presence, feel the happiness, feel everyone to be happy, everyone be free from all the sufferings. And Tosham is cheerfulness. So always be cheerful, smiling. Smile comes when you feel yourself full. So all these things are interrelated. So when you feel you don't need it, you cannot but smile. And that smile automatically comes when you are obviously pouring out. When you are full only, you can pour out love. A lot of people used to go and sit in front of Swami Chinmayananda, and because outpouring is the overflowing happiness. So everybody wants to share that happiness, and of course he has to do a lot of work. So he goes back, and people want to be around him all the time. So Tosham. And Satyam is the truth. Truth is speak the truth, and if it is required, not that if it's going to hurt somebody. So if it is beneficial and if it is required, only talks the Satyam. Satyam means also living what you believe in, and that's essentially Arjavam also. And Piyushavat, like a nectar, you drink this. So these are all essentially part of the teaching in the Gita also. Amanitvam vitvam ahimsa kshanti arjavam acharyopasanam saucham sthairyamatma vinigraha indriyarthaishu vairagyam anahankaram evacha janma mrityu jara vyadi dukkha doshanu darsanam. It's all from the 13th chapter. Krishna gives 24 values, and in fact this is jnana. If you acquire that, jnana automatically comes. So the preparation of the mind is required in order to gain this knowledge, and that preparation is what Shankara also defines as fourfold qualifications. So it's essentially Viveka Vairagya, Samadhi Shatka Sampatti, and Mumukshutvam. these are the 4 qualifications that Shankara identifies as for a person who wants to go through and inquire into the nature of Brahman. And the same way, some of this is specified here by Ashtavakra to Janaka. If you really are interested in the moksha, in the freedom, then you have to give up on everything else. And now is going to address the second question. It says Vairagyam cha, third question, Vairagyam cha katham praptam. How do we get Vairagyam? So Vairagyam for what? Dispassion for what? And here is going to tell what is that is being specified in the verse 3. Na prithvi na jalam na agnihi, na prithvi na jalam na agnihi, na vayurjau va bhavan, na vayurjau va bhavan, esham sakshinam atmanam, esham sakshinam atmanam, chidrupam vidhi muktaye, chidrupam vidhi muktaye. Together. Na prithvi na jalam na agnihi, na vayurjau va bhavan, esham sakshinam atmanam, chidrupam vidhi muktaye. So here is identifying what is that I had to give up. You have to give up, you are not all this. So don't identify yourself with any of this. What is that? Na prithvi, these are the 5 elements that are discussed in the Vedanta. Says essentially Akasha, Vayuhu, Agnihi, Apaha, Prithvi. This is all the 5. Here he goes in the other opposite direction. Essentially na Prithvi and na Jalam and na Agnihi, na Vayuhu, na Jo means Akasha. So none of the 5 you are. So why we don't think we are any of that, do we? It says here you have to think is that the very creation starts with this. So here in one sloka he said you are nothing of this creation. Anything created, you are not that. That's what essentially implies. And here how does the creation starts? In the Taittiriya Upanishad it says tasmatva atasmad akasha atman akasha sambhutaha akashat vayuhu vayo agnihi agni apaha abja prithvi prithivya oshadayaha oshadibhyonnam annat purushaha. So this is how the hierarchy of the creation says. First from atmanaha akasha sambhutaha. From Atma, Akasha, the space was created. From the space, Akasha, Akashaha, Vayuhu. From the space, then the gaseous state is created. So we are talking about the next grosser. From the space is most subtlest, and the Vayuhu is keep moving everywhere and occupies everything, and that is essentially is Vayu, the next one. So then from that Agnihi, the energy state. So from the gaseous state we are talking about energy state. Then Jalam, the liquid state, and ultimately the Prithvi, the grossest, which is the solid state. So 3 states of matter, and then the energy and also space, all are included. So everything creation is included, because only 3 states of matter, and energy is also that can be thought of plasma also, and then the space to accommodate all that is essentially, because space is Akasha. Akasha is the way defined, space is defined, the way it is that which provides Avakasha, that provides, accommodates everything is what is called space. So in space only everything else is. So space itself is infinite. So na prithvi na jalam na agnihi vayu vabhava. So in the Upanishad it says first 5, these 5 elements are formed. So now the Akasha, and the property of Akasha is sound, and Akasha, Vayuhu is next Subdispersor. So not only Sabda, it acquires Sparsa, touch also. You know, it's a cool breeze or a hot breeze. So by movement of the air, you can feel. So therefore, the touch coming into picture. So Akashaha Vayu. Then Agni. Agni also not only the first two qualities, it gets also the Subdispersor. Rupam is a form also. The fire has certain form and occupies and called 7 forms in the Upanishad. All the flames are classified under 7 types of flames. That's also done, and that called the Subdispersor Rupa. And Jalam, water comes rasam also, where without the water, without saliva, you cannot taste anything. So the taste comes with the Jalam only, and dry things you cannot taste at all. And Jalam and the Prithvi. Prithvi has all the 4 plus additional, and that is essentially smell. So Subdispersor Rupa Rasa Gandha, and these are the 5 elements that belong to part of the Prakriti, and that's how the creation starts. And the creation comes first, the 5 subtle elements are formed. So Akasha, Vayu, Agni, and they are in the subtle form, and what is called Panchikaranam by division and recombination, which is we discussed in the Viveka Chudamani also, and Atma Bodha too. And in the Panchi, grossification, where you get a gross element from which all the 14 worlds are created, including this Bhautika Sariram. This gross body is also made up of all those elements. And therefore, when he talks about do not have any attachments to this, so you have to give up all these things. So attachment to this is the attachment. If you look at everything that you are attached to, it comes under either 5 gross objects or 5 subtle objects, a combination of them. So body, starting from the body, we said the body is made up of gross elements, and therefore Panchabhutas after Panchikaranam is what is the gross body. So I am attached to my own gross body, and I am attached to other gross bodies because I get happiness from the other bodies. So whatever I am attached to, I am depending upon, therefore my happiness is again either a gross or a subtle. And then the subtle elements form the subtle body. That means the mind and intellect form from the same 5 elements, forming the subtle elements, and they form the subtle body. So attachment to gross and the subtle is what is implied. So you are na Prithvi, na Jalam. So when I say I am, I am this. That's what my definition is. So whenever I identify myself, I am this, and this is nothing but Panchabhutas. So identification of this is same as identification with the 5, either a gross 5 materials or subtle 5 materials, or a combination of that, and that's what essentially I have to give up with. And Yesham Sakshina Matrena, and they are all to be witnessed, because I know this, I know that, I taste this, I experience this. So everything that is experienced is an objectifiable entity, and that's what is essentially Saksham, and I am a Sakshi, one who is experiencer, who is a knower, and I am the subject, and everything else is the object. So every object is nothing but 5 subtle elements and 5 gross elements, and I am none of them. So Esham Sakshi, I am only a witnessing agent. I am only a subject. And what's the nature of the subject? Chidrupam Vidhi Muktaye. In order for you to get liberated, because how do I get liberated? Moksham. Recognize that you are pure conscious entity. So here the whole Vedanta is being packed in one statement, in the one sloka, and everything else is an explanation of this. And we go into more in details in terms of what it is, what we have to do in order to recognize what Ashtavakra is pointing out to Janaka Maharshi. With that, we stop now. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.